So what we're doing is not only getting that indicator, but we're setting ourselves up for success in having some more touch points with our warmest leads. Hi there, Kelsey Toner here, the founder of Guest Focused Tour Business Coaching, where every day myself and our team of exceptional tour and activity business coaches are helping you build a thriving, profitable business. Welcome back to our series on multi-day travel marketing. We're talking small group tours. We're talking anything that lasts more than a day. We are sharing best practices from some of the most successful multi-day operators on the planet and giving you real-world recommendations from some of our multi-day coaches. This entire series leverages our VIP marketing framework, which is essentially a marketing methodology that is an acronym, and it's going to help you make sure that your marketing is valuable, make sure that it's intimate, we're building trust and rapport through our marketing, and pervasive, which means that we're showing up in multiple places across multiple channels where your ideal target guests are spending their time. Now, if you haven't seen our series on the VIP marketing methodology, I highly recommend you go and check that out first. But in this video, we're going to be looking at bottom of funnel optimization, or essentially bottom of funnel marketing for multi-day operators. Let's dive in. So before we go too much further, we should probably remind you about the travel booking funnel that we at Guest Focus here leverage, and was first pioneered by Google. And they have 5 stages of travel, or 5 stages in the traveler's sales journey. And that is starting with the dreaming phase, then the planning phase, then the booking phase, then experiencing and sharing. So we're going to focus on this first part of the funnel. And it's shaped like a funnel because at the top in that dreaming phase, there are more prospects. There are more people who are in that phase who never ultimately move forward and take steps to start planning that trip. That is a smaller number of people. And when we say bottom of funnel, we are then talking about this booking phase. These are the people who have shown the most interest. These are people who are further along in that journey, meaning they may have chosen a destination. They may have chosen a type of travel. They may have even chosen a time of year. And now they're getting into choosing who they should go with, how they're going to book it. They're researching different companies. They're probably reading a lot of reviews. This is the area that we're talking about here in this bottom of funnel. In our coaching program, we see a lot of multi-day operators focus a ton of energy on attracting new visitors to their website, but they're missing the biggest opportunity, which is optimizing that bottom of funnel. This bottom of funnel, sometimes called BOFU, bottom of funnel marketing, targets people who are already interested or have given some indicators. They just need that final push to convert. Multi-day bookings have long consideration periods, sometimes booking months in advance, often taking a long time to make the decision to put down a deposit. The great news is bottom of funnel marketing has a higher conversion rate because you're targeting warm prospects who've already shown some interest. This means that some of the effort you put in now, or put another way, you're likely to get a higher return on marketing efforts or marketing spend when you target this bottom of funnel. But therein lies the rub. Most multi-day operators don't know who their warmest leads are. You might have a great, high converting, following all the guest focused best practices around tour sales pages, but you don't know who those folks are who are coming to those sales pages. Are there certain people who are visiting it multiple times? There's no way to track indicators of interest. And so here's where we want to introduce one of our best practices for multi-day operators. We highly, highly recommend having a more detailed itinerary or a more detailed expedition guide for each trip, and withholding that behind an email capture, and ideally an email and phone number capture where the phone number is optional. Let's have a look at a couple of our coaching members and some real world operators out there that leverage this best practice to make it a little bit more clear for you. Our first example will come from Western River Expeditions, a really well-run and well-established adventure and rafting company. So here is their Utah rafting, Cataract Canyon Classic tour. And notice here they have a great sales page. But right here, if you go to download guide, or if we scroll down a little bit, I think we'll see here, request your complimentary expedition guide. These comprehensive PDF guides include river maps, overview, full itineraries, camping and weather information, details on physical requirements, packing lists, and more. And when we click, it's now going to take us to an opt-in. And you see the only way to get this more detailed expedition guide to help you with your planning for this specific trip is if you pop in an email, and some additional information. We see this best practice across the industry, and especially with some of the larger multi-day operators, Backroads being one of the largest active travel adventure companies. Here's their sales page. And if we go to, I think if you click view dates, want to learn more about this trip, request a detailed itinerary, complete with descriptions of each day, tips on travel arrangements, regional highlights, and more, and it makes it easy to share. If you're looking for inspiration on what to put in these detailed itineraries, you can go yourselves and visit some of these websites, download a detailed itinerary, and you can see here Backroads does a great job of giving additional information on arriving and departing during your trip, destination details, where to stay before and after, how to get ready for your trip, suggested packing lists, recommend reading, and more. Dan and his team at Alaska Alpine Adventures joined the Guest Focus coaching program, and we helped them optimize their free expedition guides. So we now have 2 main calls to action on their sales pages. This is a turquoise kayak and hike trip going off into the backcountry of Alaska. Notice here, the check availability is where we will go to put a deposit down or actually see some of the dates. But this free expedition guide not only is visible at all times, but if we scroll down, you'll see we have multiple callouts. Request a free expedition guide. And when we click this, you'll see that we have a name, email capture, and phone. Now, if you aren't interested in asking for a phone at this stage, you can put optional, which is kind of the best of both worlds, where they don't have to share their phone number if they want. But by collecting a phone number, it gives us a lot of opportunities for automation via SMS or potentially even personalized follow-ups to some of your warmest leads who are expressing interest. Hopefully you're starting to see how this works in practice. The goal is to get you as a multi-day tour business additional indicators, additional signs of who your warmest leads are. If they are going to put in their contact information to raise their hand and say, I would like more info about this specific departure or this specific trip, then that's a good indicator that they are a warm lead and they deserve some extra attention from you. Now, some of you might rightly be noticing that this takes a fair amount of effort. If you are not currently creating more detailed itineraries, then yes, we're going to have to start creating them. There's a few ways that we can do this. Obviously, using sites like Canva, you can come up with templates that are PDFs. I know other folks who prefer to have a web-based trip guide. Even some of our coaching members like Chelsea and her team at Heart of Travel use tools like Travify to very quickly create beautiful detailed itineraries, which, by the way, are an additional sales resource or document. If somebody passes through your website and never comes back, then essentially you've lost that lead. But if they go and they download that itinerary, well, now there's some additional touch points. Now there's a higher likelihood that they might engage with that itinerary, that we might be able to urge them to come back and ultimately make a deposit or make a booking. They might have that guide and they might share it with one of their loved ones. It might be on their computer. We might have some email or text messages that remind them, hey, here's that guide, or hey, just following up to see if you had any additional questions. So what we're doing is not only getting that indicator, but we're setting ourselves up for success in having some more touch points with our warmest leads. Now let's just take a quick moment to appreciate the difference between an email capture that is top of funnel versus one that is down here at the bottom of funnel. So here's Target Tours, the members of our coaching program. We help them create this free guide, 7 costly mistakes to avoid when booking a vacation from Atlantic Canada. So they do these outbound tours for Maritimers here in Nova Scotia. This is a top of funnel email opt-in where they've got a more general guide and they are collecting and trying to find qualified leads, meaning that if I'm going to download this guide on 7 costly mistakes Atlantic Canadians make, there's a good chance that 1, you're Atlantic Canadian, and 2, you're probably pretty interested in booking vacations. So this is a great top of funnel lead magnet. But notice that this is different from their bottom of funnel detailed itineraries. Here on a tour specific page, their Costa Rica land tour, volcanoes, waterfalls, and wildlife, you'll see over here that they have this download itinerary. Or if we scroll over here, want to learn more about this trip, receive a copy of this itinerary complete with descriptions of each day, prices, inclusions, and more information to help make sure this experience is perfect for you and your loved ones. You can easily share it with friends and family too. Appreciate how these 2 opt-ins are serving 2 very different purposes in their multi-day tour business. When we're working with multi-day operators in the Guest Focused Tour Business Coaching Program, another common question is often, well, do I have to change my existing sales pages if I now start offering more detailed itineraries? And the answer is, well, it depends. You'll notice that some companies like Backroads Tours and others have what seems to be intentionally shorter itineraries. You know, they'll often group a couple days together. Days 2 to 3, we'll be doing this. Days 4 to 5, we're doing this and we're staying here. And they seem to be driving people to download that much more detailed itinerary with just jam-packed with value. But if you already have a fair amount of detail on your sales page, then you just have to make sure that there are some real tangible benefits to downloading that more detailed itinerary that are not included on your sales page. This might be additional information about the climate or what to pack, or some before and after your trip recommendations. And sometimes, depending on the types of tours you run and the destinations, a lot of that information can be pretty similar from one detailed itinerary to another. So we highly recommend having a template. Another common mistake that we see on these multi-day tour sales pages is that there are just too many calls to action, right? You've got your multi-day trip sales page. We ideally want to have a primary call to action and a secondary call to action. This is oftentimes confused by having a book now, a detailed itinerary, hey, ask us a question, hey, pop up a chat, hey, you can book a call over here. All of these things will dilute the effectiveness of those call to action. So ideally, the primary is always the main way to do business with us. Hey, here's where you check availability. We do recommend check availability over Book Now. And the second is download that detailed itinerary or download expedition guide. That button, we really want to have a lot of prominence. I know some multi-day operators that actually treat that as their primary call to action. That's the single most important thing they want people to do when they leave that page. And so that means if you look at some of our guest focused best practices, that call to action button should be visible at all times, whether you are on a desktop or on a mobile device. If we go back and look at the Alaska Alpine Adventures mobile view, we can see here this sticky bar at the bottom that shows the price per person. But look at that, the check availability and expedition guide buttons are going to be visible no matter where they're scrolled on that mobile device, as we really want people to take that step before they navigate to another website or continue on their research. To lift that conversion rate even higher, you might consider a timed pop-up or a scroll-based pop-up. If someone has reached 50% of your page, then why not have a pop-up where you invite them to grab that more detailed itinerary? Here's another best practice that I feel is so often overlooked, is that anytime you have an opt-in like this, you're going to have a thank you page. And this thank you page, we know with pretty near 100% certainty that everyone who takes that step is going to end up looking at that page. So I would encourage you, instead of just giving them that detailed itinerary, we instead leverage that space to encourage them to take the next step in your sales funnel, whatever that looks like. So here's an example. I go and I download that detailed itinerary. It takes me to a thank you page where it says, hey, check your inbox. We've just sent over that detailed itinerary. It should be there in the next couple minutes. Now, what else could we put on this page? I would highly recommend having a video. Maybe you as the business owner or someone on your sales team, you say, hi there, Kelsey Toner here from Guest Focus Adventures. Thanks so much for downloading this detailed itinerary. We put a lot of work into these to make sure that you have all the information you need to make sure that you and your loved ones choose the right trip. Look, if you have any questions at all, we've been doing these trips for over 20 years and we have a lot of experience on our team. So I'm guessing that you're gonna still have a couple questions. While I've got you, why not use the link below to book a call with one of our team, and we'd be happy to answer any of those questions. Thanks so much for being here, and you can find that link down below. Now, that's just an example. Maybe your next step in the sales funnel isn't to book a call with you, but maybe you could drive them to the FAQ page. Hey, here's the top 10 biggest concerns or objections people have before booking with us. You can check those out down below. The point is that this step of the bottom of funnel, where they've requested more information, they've indicated that they're a warm lead, let's leverage that thank you page to overcome hesitations or concerns, or most importantly, drive them to that next step of the sales funnel. What are some other bottom of funnel optimizations? Well, I would highly recommend setting up retargeting pixels for both Meta and Google Ads on your thank you page. This means that people who have downloaded your detailed itinerary but didn't book are going to be great candidates for targeted ads. We can create custom audiences, and ultimately by spending a small amount on paid retargeting campaigns specifically to those warm prospects, you're going to be using your ad dollars where it makes the most impact and the most sense. Now, what type of content should we serve to folks in that retargeting ad? Well, of course, we're trying to get them to come on back and make a deposit. But here we're talking about content that is really from that booking phase, meaning they're going to be very interested in case studies, in testimonials, and any other credibility boosting indicators. You know, are you guys the real deal? Are you going to be able to live up to your promises? What sort of risk reversal do you have? Do you have any kinds of guarantees? What are your cancellation policies if things come up, or if there's a disaster of some sort? We want to be overcoming concerns and potentially sending them to an FAQ page, or giving them as much peace of mind as possible so that they're comfortable moving forward. Now, here is the key. We always want to have that call to action to be driving back to the next step of the sales funnel. For many folks, this is going to be getting that deposit in. So part of bottom funnel optimization is reducing the friction to making that deposit, to making that booking. If right now you're requiring a full payment at any time of year, even if they book well in advance, I highly recommend looking at adjusting that to offer some sort of deposit or payment plan where it's less of a financial burden to take that next step, where it can easily go on a credit card and they can make that micro commitment. Having things like a 24-hour cancellation window where, hey, within the next 24 hours, you can cancel no problem whatsoever. All of those things are going to help you lift that conversion rate and help you optimize that bottom of funnel. Now, inside our coaching program, we actually have a complete template and some AI prompts to help you create an automated email sequence and how to automate some SMS messages for these warmest leads. Now, the key insight here is that each one of those emails and each one of those SMS messages is going to have a clear call to action. And that's going to be to come on back and make a deposit. Or if in your case, you know that you can dramatically increase the conversion by having a quick conversation with folks, by getting them on the phone and you can convert at a 60 or 70% level, then maybe the right next step is to drive them to getting on a call with you or one of your team. Now, with our members, we highly recommend automating this bottom of funnel optimization to have as many of those touch points be happening on autopilot so that they're not falling through the cracks or slipping through the fingers, and recognizing that we do need to have sometimes 10, 11, 15 touch points with folks to stay top of mind over the course of that booking journey, which can be weeks, it can sometimes be months, and sometimes even longer. Now, we always recommend having some personalized outreach as well. So that might mean sending that personalized note, or like I said, if you're collecting phone numbers, which we do recommend, a quick personal call, 24 hours or within 24 hours after someone has downloaded an itinerary. Boy, is that ever a sign that you're a company that cares? And there's not a whole lot of companies that are ultimately doing that. Our final recommendation for bottom of funnel optimization is a waiting list strategy. When tours sell out, don't just say, sorry, we're full, but capture waiting list signups for the possibility of last minute cancellations or maybe even early access to future departures. Waiting lists create ethical scarcity, and when people see that your tours actually sell out, it increases the perceived value and urgency for future bookings. Not only could you nurture those waiting list members with some exclusive content, behind the scenes prep for the sold out departure, guest stories from past trips, or possibly early bird pricing for next season dates, but you can also leverage these waiting lists to gauge demand for additional departures. If you've got 25 or 50 people on a waiting list for a particular trip, this is a great indicator that you can add more departures. If you're excited by this type of bottom of funnel optimization and you've been inspired by implementing this, but you're feeling totally overwhelmed, I want to personally invite you to book a free strategy call with one of our multi-day tour coaches. You can learn more at guestfocus.com/book a call. These are free calls, and we'd love to help you with some of these optimizations. We've got a ton of tools, a ton of templates, and some mentors who would love to help you take your multi-day tour business to the next level. Thank you so much for being here. Before you go, let me know in the comments, what did we miss? What are some of your bottom of funnel optimizations or recommended best practices that you could share with our community? If you found this video helpful or this series, it would mean the world to us if you'd share it with a friend or a colleague. Thank you so much for being here, and we'll see you in the next video.